So Jill, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me to come to the podcast.
It's great to be here in your studio in the Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me a bit about this place and the building?
This building has been called the Lighthouse for years because it's got 57 stairs from top to bottom, 5 different levels, 1 room on each floor. It was originally built in 1400. There was a house here. Oh. And then that was restored in 1800. The warehouses of the Roman Legion were on this point because this was the entrance to the Roman Legion, to the fortress. So it's a very old house, and I've lived here for 41 years in March.
Wow.
So I've been up and down quite a few stairs.
And we're right in the centre of York.
Right in the centre on the crossroads, yeah. I look right down Stonegate, which is very nice.
And you've turned this into almost like a gallery as well as a studio. If you walk down the stairs, you've got all your paintings.
That's right. I used to have a big studio which was 3 times the size of this room. It's like 3 of these put on in the Roman Catholic Presbytery across the road. But unfortunately, that had to finish. And everything came back here, and I thought, where am I going to put all my work? So I created this gallery on the stairs, and then some ladies wanted to come and see my work, who'd seen my exhibition, and I went out and bought some cheap lights and put some cheap lights on the stairs, and they came and they bought 200 quid's worth of paintings, so that was quite worth it. Oh. And so it's my little gallery that people can come and see if they so wish.
And you recently done an exhibition just across the road?
Yes, it just came down a few days ago at Pyramid Gallery. I think it was my 6th time I've had Christmas exhibitions there, and which I love doing, yeah.
So looking around the room, we've got obviously loads of paintbrushes, we've got printing materials. What do you do as an artist?
Well, I was trained as a theatre... I didn't go to art college till I was 27. Mm-hmm. And I went and did theatre design, was my training. And I came to York 41 years ago to work at Theatre Royal with the Young People's Theatre, as it was then. We used to tour around in a little bus, and I used to design the sets and costume.
So I guess there's a very quick turnaround on those kind of things. It's like, this is what you need to make, go do it.
Yes.
On to the next thing.
It's lots of. And the thing about working in theatre was lots of deadlines, which is why I like an exhibition. I still enjoy having an exhibition to work towards. Otherwise, I'll butter around and I won't get much work done, you know. Gradually, the painting took over, and I because I've got lots of arthritis and things, so I physically found it difficult to do a lot of the theatre design.
So illness seems to be something that you've mentioned a few times. Do you find that art and your work is something that helps with recovery or helps to deal and process that?
Well, it's interesting. I think it gives me an incentive to get going. I know that I've had lots of different joint problems and things, frozen shoulders and stuff, and not being able to work. And I remember I had repetitive strain once, and all I could do was tiny little paintings. Because I'm a theatre designer, I love painting big, but I've found that I've had to limit myself, that a lot of my artwork has been affected by what I physically could do. I remember, again, this period when I had repetitive strain, I started working with sponges and a big brush, and so you just have to adapt. I mean, this last exhibition that I've had, I wasn't able to do any new printmaking, although I have got 1 or 2 in the pipeline. But I started a little series I called it Treasures of Darkness. I was exploring watercolour, pure watercolour again, which was lovely for a change, because I've done all sorts in between. And it was just these lovely little jewel-like colours. I mean, you go, I would start off with something, just happens to be here. Obviously, It was just that, I'd start off with something like that, just playing around with the paint and then work into it. And so these were my little treasures of darkness. It was like little jewels, and I added gold to them, again from the earth. And I felt like these were treasures that had come out of the darkness of the last 3.5 years. Because I say I've been really ill, and there's, 3 times in the last few years that I could have actually died, but the cancer's all clear. It's all gone.
That's good to hear.
So I always think that art comes out of where you're at. If art's got integrity, it's coming out of who you are and where you're at. It's not. I mean, you can draw influences from other people, but I think because I work here on my own, I don't have that many influences, and I just guess I have to. I keep moving on. I keep moving on, but it reflects, who you are and where you are.
You see that across all mediums, I guess. Particularly the music I like the most is when you can tell this is someone's experiences and their personality coming through in what they've written, what they're composing. Same with film as well.
Yeah.
They always say write about characters that you've actually met and people you know, and then they're more believable. You can put their traits into.
Absolutely.
Into your work.
And it's I mean, that's what makes it unique, isn't it? It's the fact that it comes from inside the individual, and then there's something there that people can see or hear. And I always like to think it's this whole thing about when you look at a painting or listen to a piece of music, the first thing that happens is you don't think cerebrally about it. It actually it reacts in your emotions. You go, oh, I like that, or oh, I don't like that, or yeah, that's okay, and then your brain comes in.
Why do I like this? Why don't I like this?
And I was always, I remember Alan Drury when I worked at the Theatre Royal in York. He says, now, designers don't think, he said, because I've always been very much a reaction and an emotion. Works come out of my emotions.
For somebody who's never picked up a paintbrush, never tried printmaking, never done anything artistic, what would be your kind of advice to them if they were just slightly interested?
Have a go.
Where would they start though? If they knew nothing?
Where would they start? Well, I wanted to paint, and I got books out. Because I didn't go to a night class or things like that. I got some really good books on the different processes, and I played around with things. And I look at stuff on YouTube, just, and in a way, being self-taught, I guess that's possibly why I'm all over the place. But that's partly to do with the theatre design thing.
Well, lots of artists like that.
Yeah.
You don't have to be well organised to create great things.
No. I've got a friend of mine, he wasn't a Christian, but he came in one day and he said, I apologised for the chaos. And he says, don't worry. He said, remember, he said, God created out of chaos. So that's one of the things I've got up there on my one. So, yes, I like to start from it. I get things like I've tidied up. So not just because you were coming, but because it was chaos after my exhibition. And I've now got a nice clean place, and I will work at it, and it will get absolutely chaotic till I can't move.
So what else are you curious about at the moment? What's interesting you and inspiring you?
Well, that's one, and it's interesting because I wasn't able to join last year. I've just connected in with the York Printmakers. And it's lovely because it turns out there's 1, 2, 3, 4 people in that who did the course I did at college. Oh. And so I'm just about to, I went to their first meeting, and I think there's another one next week. So I'm excited about getting, it's great to be with a group of people and get encouraged into doing things. I think what I want to do, I keep bumping into people saying, come and use my press. And I'd love to be able to teach much, one-to-one even. I used to have, when I had my big studio, I used to teach half a dozen people to paint at a time. I kind of feel that because I've got to my age and I've had lots of experience, and I've been actually freelance now for 34 years, I think it is. I know a lot about what it's like to be an artist working on your own, and I want to encourage people because I've had various people who I used to work at the it used to be the Stonegate Gallery with a guy called Alan Hitchcock, which was the gallery in York for many, many years. And I worked there for 10 years with him. And, there was all these amazing artists, nationally, internationally known. We'd have their fantastic exhibitions. And there was people like Peter Hicks, who's an amazing man, who encouraged me. And I showed him a book one day. I said, I want to paint like this. He says, oh, you paint much better than that. And so I don't know. I just would like to be able to encourage people. I'm not very good at teaching people who have never put paint to paper, but I like to encourage people who are developing. And, if I can do that with people and pass on something for the next generation. Because I'm very much not the next generation.
Well, you need all kinds of different creative people in a community. You need people who can teach, people who are ready to be taught and will bring new ideas. And
Well, it's like you. Because that's what you do. You see something and you see a little spark and you enable it to be blown into a little flame somewhere that grows and encourages people. Credit where credit's due.
I'm interested by so many things, and there's so many people doing amazingly creative things, particularly in this city. And, I think it needs to be appreciated.
Yeah.
And there's so many people doing interesting things, and then other people also doing interesting things, and they don't know what each other's doing. So I'm just trying to connect all the dots.
Well, I must admit, I've never been connected to many of the dots. I suppose there's certain, especially having worked in the Stonegate Gallery, there were people that I knew from there. And I think when I look at the art scene now in York, maybe, I don't know whether it's because I've met people like you and I'm become more aware of it, but it would appear that there is so much more going on than there was a few years ago. I mean, Stonegate Gallery, where I worked, was one of, it was about the gallery in York, but now you've got all sorts of really good galleries around. You've got Lottie Inch and you've McGee and all the kind of becoming quite established galleries. When I went to the York Printmakers, had an exhibition, and that was really I'm back there in my printmaking.
And there's so many people there as well.
So, yes, it's very encouraging, and I'm looking forward to being part of that group. And I'm hoping to get a camera instead of using my iPhone. I do quite well with my iPhone.
Yeah, there's tons you can do. I mean, you don't need a big fancy camera to take good photos.
No, but I must admit, trying to take some certain lights and things like that, it's very restricting. But yes.
Well, thank you for being on the podcast.
It's been my pleasure.
If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, I'm on Facebook. It's Gill with a G, Gill Douglas. I've just started on Instagram recently, and that is douglas.gill. That's Gill.
We'll put links in the description as well for people to click through.
And I've got a website, gilldouglas.co.uk.
And if people want to come here and have a look around, are you open for them to do that?
Yeah, as long as they give me some warning. So that,
they just send you an email and...
Yeah, and say, yes, certainly, yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure.